So I was speaking to a therapist the other day. It was pulling out the old Neo-Advaita viewpoints, which are technically accurate, as in everybody is enlightened, and therefore there's nothing to do, nowhere to go. At the highest level, that's true. But for 99.9999999% of humanity, it is far better to have the approach, enlightenment is a thing, or a no thing that I can attain, as opposed to saying I'm already enlightened, which is technically true. It's just that ultimately we're so wrapped up in persona that we don't even know we're wrapped up in persona. In 100 ways we're not even aware of it. And that wrapping is blocking the enlightenment, the light. There's a light that emanates that gives it away, whether somebody's found themselves or not, which we term enlightenment. And so people become quite experts in one field and then project that expertise onto all these other fields as if it's something they've mastered also, and we have to be very careful of these things. So it's ultimately true, there is nobody enlightened, there is no enlightenment technically, because it's all one thing, but because we're in human form and believe we're someone separate, it becomes a thing. Only because of that. So for one that's identified to say there's no enlightenment, we're all enlightenment, is quite a high level of ignorance and arrogance, actually. And 5 minutes later, she's telling me how grateful she is to her masters. Okay, so if we're all enlightened, why do you have a master? What are you talking about? Which one is it? Make your mind up. So this is just the mind of man that just wants to grab onto everything and control everything and think it has all the answers to things so it can stay alive, so it can survive, and it can keep controlling this mechanism, running it through the world how it wants to run it through the world, instead of the being truly conscious. And so when these mindsets get adopted, this all becomes very easy and very simplistic, and it's all this sunshine and rainbows fairy tale, hippie fairy tale. And the reality is it's quite a challenging process. Satori's or awakening moments can happen very easily and spontaneously. Maybe everybody's had a couple here and there. But that being an ongoing, abiding existence of how you move through the world is a completely different level of game. That's like looking at a Maserati and actually owning one. You know what I mean? Or, looking at a Ferrari or owning the factory that makes them, and you know how to design them. It's a big difference, and it's even bigger than that, actually. Just so the work we do here is really finding it and then being able to hold it and being empty enough within and not identified in 1,000 ways we haven't seen yet, because that identification is what robs us of the truth. That's what the problem is. That's the obstacle. It's not going and finding it. It's actually emptying itself so it can reside, because it's already here, hiding, waiting for you to snap out of your delusion, to snap out of your specialness, snap out of your unspecialness, snap out of your separation. And if you do that well enough, something can happen, and then light, and it happens, which is discernible by the sensitive. So anyone claiming enlightenment without that emanation is fraudulent. And that's 99.9% of teachings and teachers, frankly. And some of them are very popular. It's just how it is. But when you find that space, you can feel everyone and everywhere, wherever they are. So you know who's telling the truth and who's deluded or lying. And the secrets are no longer. The lies are exposed. That doesn't mean you can do anything about it. It just means that's the problem. And it's a mess out there. And wearing robes and turbans and all the different things doesn't change that. Retreating for 14 years in silence doesn't change that. The light's there or it's not. And that light is us at our deepest level. Everybody. So technically that statement is true, but if somebody identified it's poison. It will poison you, and it will continue to poison you until you can't even remember what you started the whole process was to begin with. So best to have beginner's mind and assume you know nothing, and be here completely present and try and soak in that energy field and also the information that's coming from it that's going to show you where you're deluded. Or stay stuck. That's up to you. I'm good. I don't even need to be doing this. I'm good. Thank you. There's nobody here. Everything's groovy. The less of you there is, the groovier things get. But there'll be a lot of resistance to that in mind, and so we have to counter these resistances and learn what they are, and even notice the subtle shifts in our system that are falseness. So assume it's right here, but assume it's also a big task to get free and stay free, because it is. That's why there's very few around, despite what YouTube's telling you and Facebook's telling you. It's very rare. There's work involved, and if you're not prepared to do the work, then there's really no point even being here, frankly. Because this is where that happens. This is what this space is. And for most, that's untenable.